Welcome to It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. What is it? It's everything. Everything you want in life starts with courage.
Episode 42.
I know. We've been
Rolling.
consistency. That's exactly what I want to say. Consistency. I just love seeing those numbers. And also, just before we begin, want to say a massive shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for the support, especially just in the last month. The number of downloads, or even really the last 2 weeks, number of downloads have gone up. Seen so many of you guys coming over to the Instagram page as well as the TikTok page. So thank you so much for that support. And while you're there, don't be quiet. We want to hear more from you guys.
Yeah. It's kind of boring just listening to us all the time.
I know. But no, honestly, thank you so much for your support and for sharing the podcasts. Every now and again, whenever I'm on Instagram, I'll see people who shared sort of different episodes that we've been doing. And that stuff really means a lot. It means someone's listening.
Yeah. So if you hear something and you're like, man, I know somebody that could use that, go ahead and share it, send a text to somebody. I do that all the time. I'm like, you got to listen to this.
Yeah, that's how I've gotten onto some of my podcasts. And, this is definitely not something that we do for monetary reasons or purposes. In fact, it's bleeding us dry. So if there's anything you can do for us is share the podcast. We would be forever grateful.
Yes. So today I wanted to talk about the word believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as everybody on the podcast knows probably, I am an Ole Miss graduate and a soccer player there. Was a soccer player there. And
it's never too late to go back,
I'm going to retire in Oxford, I think. But I just have to convince Bob of that.
Good luck.
Yeah. Anyway, we just about a week ago had the College World Series, and Ole Miss won the national championship, College World Series. And so kind of I learned a lot, from watching the World Series. First, I watched the Women's College World Series, the softball, and Oklahoma won.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not a normal baseball fan. I'm not going to just sit down and watch baseball all the time. But
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I caught a few games in Toronto one year. My sister's husband, the company that he works for, they're always giving them seats to basketball games, to baseball games when the big names come into town. And I remember going twice, and me and my niece just used to sit there I used to go for the hot dogs.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I think I picked up a couple things, and I thought it would be nice to talk about it on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I think baseball is a little bit of a unique sport because there is so much downtime of changing innings and
yes,
the batters and stuff that when you're watching it on TV or listening to it on the radio, they really spend a lot of time telling you about each player.
Right.
What year they are, where their background is, how they made it to the school,
mm-hmm.
what awards or how they've been doing, what is their talents and stuff. So after watching them for a few games, I mean, you're calling them by their first name, you know them, you're best friends with them, and you know their tendencies and stuff. But Ole Miss has a player, Tim Elko,
mm-hmm.
And he is this is his third year of being the captain of the team. And last year he tore his ACL.
Ooh.
But he continued to play
mm-hmm.
and hit home runs and limp around the bases.
Injured?
With a torn ACL. Yeah. And him and two other of the guys got drafted last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he reminds me a lot of Tim Tebow from Florida. Very open with his faith and just a great leader of his team.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was after I had 1 year of eligibility left, and after last year being drafted, I had a decision to make, what I was going to do, if I'm going to come back for one more year or if I'm going to, go pro. And he said he prayed about it a lot, and God told him that he wasn't finished at Ole Miss. And
Yeah.
so he made the decision to come back. And so like 3 of the seniors like came back, and in the preseason they were ranked number 1 in the country, like when they started the season. So they were doing really well, and then they hit this like terrible streak.
Yeah.
And like baseball is one of the things like I realize is like, you know, in softball, your pitcher can pitch every game.
What's the difference between baseball and softball? Is it like male and female?
Yes.
Okay.
So baseball is male, softball female.
Yeah.
And softball, baseball they pitch overhanded, and the softball they swirl their arm around and it's underhanded.
Yeah.
So I guess the mechanics of their pitching are different. And so like for a baseball player, you can pitch one game and then you have to sit for 4 or 5 days before you can throw again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like you have to have this big team, and I was just thinking like there's no real other sport where like your ace, your best player is going to be your pitcher, one of them, and you only get them a third of the time.
That's insane.
I mean, and here's another thing that I really like picked up in watching the 2 different World Series is like you never know, like, you know, like when you're at the end of a basketball game and you're drawing up a play for the final shot to win it. Like you have a timeout, your coach tells you who's going to take the shot, they draw up the play, and that. Like in baseball, you don't know.
You
just go, and you never know if you're going to be the third out in the bottom of the 9th, right? Like you can't say, let me change and put my batter in there.
They have
to
stay there.
They have to stay in order. So like being confident and just being willing and like having enough confidence to be put in that situation and produce is a big deal, because everybody has to be ready, because you can't just pick, right? And so back to Tim Elko, they had like this, they went 7-0, and then I think they ended up being like 7-14. They went through this terrible losing streak in the middle of the season. And he did this interview after the World Series, and he said, I called my sister after we lost to Mississippi State at home, and he was like this streak of bad results was really like getting to me and the guys, and he's the captain of the team, right? So everybody's looking to him for leadership. And so he calls his sister, and he's just saying, like, this is getting to me. I'm getting really down about this. And she just said, Tim, you have to believe God didn't bring you back to Ole Miss for this. You have to believe that the reason that he wanted you back here is still to come. You have to keep believing. And he said after that conversation, like, he just took it upon himself to like pick up the other guys in the dugout and tell them to believe in each other, to believe in the team. And anyway, at the end of this season, they lost their first game in the SEC tournament and lost and had to go home. And so they had the NCAA selection show, and everybody, like, I was hearing, they're not going to make it into the tournament. And they were one of the last 4 teams that made it into the tournament. There's 64 teams, and so they were a bubble team. They could go in or out, and they made it in, and they just started playing like incredibly. And just hearing all the stories of the guys, listening to the games and like how they went through all this tribulation throughout the season. And at the end, like when they went to Omaha for the finals, like there was like the stadium holds like 25,000 people. There was like 20,000 Ole Miss fans there.
No way.
Yeah, for the game.
That's
and
everybody else believing in them.
Yes. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about is just believe in first just these are the lessons that I've learned from the College World Series. Is one, you have to believe in yourself.
That's half the battle right there.
You never know when you're gonna be the person to be like 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, and you're at bat. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, you have to, like, if you don't believe in yourself, you're never going to be able to make that clutch hit or that clutch play if you don't have confidence. So first of all, like, you know, you have to put the things in place in your life to help you gain that confidence. And one is self-talk and how you talk to yourself.
Yep.
And
we did an episode on this, actually.
Yeah.
Episode something. Look for it.
And then just being prepared, right? Like, preparation creates confidence.
Yes.
And confidence is the belief in yourself.
Yes.
And so
even if you are the underdog.
That's right.
We talked about being the underdog sometimes, and that, or what is it in acting when you have your understudy? You're that person that's prepared, that when the ball is in your court and it's your turn, you are prepared. As you said, you know what to do next to get that home run. Is called a home run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, even like Dylan DeLucia was the ace pitcher for their Friday night ace, right? So he was a transfer from a junior college, and he came, and at the beginning of the season, like, he wasn't even in that starting rotation. He was like in the bullpen, and like, when they were having all that trouble, they had to change things around, and they were trying to figure out what was going to work. And he got an opportunity, like, with like 10 games left in the season or whatever. And like, when he got put in there, he like was crushing it.
Yeah.
And so here he went from like a junior college transfer, not knowing if he's going to get to play. He pitches in the a full game in the College World Series to get them to the championship series, and he ended up getting like most outstanding player of the College World Series.
That's
like
crazy.
Somebody that, you know, wasn't highly recruited out of high school, like went to a junior college, like it, you know, sometimes you look at these people and they've just been great their whole lives, right? And it's just like they're always on the best team, or they've always had this opportunity. And it's just really kind of neat to
see someone who's not the number one prospect come and just dust
crush
the floor.
it.
Yeah.
Crush it.
I love that.
Then the second one is just believing in each other. Yeah. The power of believing in each other, especially when things are going bad. And I think that's not just, I mean, I know we're using a sports analogy, and I'm going to bring this back around to our everyday life, but like, we all work with somebody, you know, like very few people are just like totally isolated in this world. And sometimes, and we talked about this on an episode as well, but just having the ability to go up to someone and tell them like, hey, I believe in you.
Yeah, you can do this.
You can do this. You got this. Like, we're all behind you. Yeah. Like, that makes all the difference in the world, because especially like one of the guys, Gonzalez, I forgot his first name. They were just talking about how he's like he's next year going to be one of the highest draft picks and stuff. And I didn't know anything about baseball, and I kept watching him, and he was like not doing that great, to be honest. Yeah. Like, he wasn't making hits, he wasn't doing anything. And I was just thinking, well, in baseball they have slumps, right? Like, you get into these slumps where you're
things just aren't going right.
I mean, you're doing everything the same, they're just not going right. And in the last game in the finals, he hit a home run in the 8th inning to give the Rebels the go ahead run. And so it's like, I know that his teammates were in the dugout just saying, you got this, you're an all-star, you're incredible, you have to keep believing and keep swinging and keep trying, because like you're awesome. But in the times that you're in that slump, that's when you have the self-doubt. Like, it's easy for you to be like, man, I hadn't got a hit in X amount of bats or whatever. And then it just is it's a snowball effect the wrong way. So I think like just in everyday life is just when you're seeing people at work that's struggling, and maybe you don't really know
what they're struggling with.
It may be a personal thing. But if you can go up to them and just be like, hey, that report you did the other day was amazing. Thank you for that. Or I saw those charts you made, or this or that. You're just incredible at that, and just wanted to, lift them up.
I think that's so important, because as we grow up and, people get into their careers, the working world, whatever it is, sometimes you ever realize when you're a kid, or even if you have children, what it means for your child, for you to tell them, wow, even though, it may not have been the greatest thing, but whatever it is, I'm sure most of you as parents out there take time to tell your children those words of affirmation so that they know they are great, they're capable of amazing things. They can do it. You believe in them. And those are words that we feed into our children as they grow up. And then suddenly you get into this big wide world out there, and maybe your parents may not tell you that as much either, or, you stop telling it to your children as much, or you don't hear it from your friends. I think you're right about if we can go back to, or at least try on a daily basis, whoever it is, when you see someone get up and do something, just to give them those words, wow, this is great, or there's a project coming up, I'm excited for you because I know you're going to kill it, or,
Yeah. And I mean, and that costs nothing.
Zero. Zero.
So, no excuse on that, really. Yeah. No excuse. And the last thing is just the having a crowd believe in you.
Oh, that one. That's priceless.
Yeah, having 20,000 Ole Miss fans there to cheer them on. It's just like when I go, I mean, we've all been to sporting events and the home team advantage, right? Like when everybody's tired and it's like they start chanting, LSU or, Hotty Toddy or whatever it is, whatever team everybody's cheering for, that creates momentum. Like it gives you that second wind. It gives you that. So I kind of feel like in our lives, like we have crowds around you that are cheering you on. And one of the head coach for Ole Miss, one of the interviews he gave after was like, I knew what winning a national championship meant to me.
Yeah.
And I know what it would mean to these guys. But I never knew what it meant to the Rebel Nation.
Yeah.
He's like, they told us we were flying into Tupelo from Omaha, and that we were going to go walk through the Walk of Champions. At Ole Miss, there's part of campus called the Grove, and it's open fields with a bunch of oak trees, and they've got sidewalks all through it, and there's an arch that says the Walk of Champions.
Yeah.
And for the football team, they start at the student union and they walk through the Grove down the Walk of Champions to the football field before all the games. And so that's where everybody tailgates, and they just have fans lining the sides, and they get all pumped. And so they were like, we're gonna have y'all walk through the Walk of Champions. And he's like, oh no, I don't think we have enough. The Grove is big. I don't think we have enough people. They're all still in Omaha. I'm sure they haven't gotten back yet. And he said when they landed in Tupelo, they had 1,000 people waiting for them there. And then they got back, and he said the Grove was full, full. He was like, I don't know how the football team does that, because it's such a rush walking through, everybody cheering them on. So,
and you know what's crazy? This is for everyone listening out there who may not be in the US. I never realized how big college sports are. Football, basketball, baseball. In England, you really don't have football, baseball, nothing like that. It's just people do that for actual teams that are in a league. But over here, I'll just never get over the time when my first time here, and I remember a few of the parking lots were closed because LSU was playing a home game. Like, guys, when I tell you this place goes crazy for college sports, it means everything to a city in terms of tourism, businesses, restaurants.
Right.
When a team is doing bad, a local university team is doing bad, the rest of the city's doing bad.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just, so I can only imagine.
Yeah,
what that
and there's only
like.
16 to 17,000 students at the whole university.
Yeah.
So for 20,000 people to be up there,
is
that's a lot. It's
Yeah.
not like we're at a Ohio State or even I think LSU has 40 or 50,000 students in all their programs.
Yeah.
But so this was a big accomplishment for a small school, and the crowd creates momentum, and momentum can change the game. And I think, like, in our everyday lives,
we need to create that momentum.
We need to create that momentum, but like we need to understand, like, there's people out there that are rooting for you that you don't even know about.
Ooh, you can say that again.
Yeah.
You can say that again. Like, when I think to some of my workouts, or even just people on Instagram, when I post things on Instagram, or whether it's TikTok, just sometimes it's amazing how people you've never met will come on there just to support you and be present at something that you're doing because they really believe in you and whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. So I just want to encourage everybody to, like, if your kids are in sports, make sure that you're teaching them to go in the dugout, go on the sideline, and if somebody misses a shot or is having a bad game, like, teach your kids to lift others up. Teach them to cheer for others, because cheering for the success of others doesn't hurt our own success. And just believe in yourself, believe in the people around you, and then you're going to see, if you live that in your daily life, like, you're going to see so many other people cheering for you. Like, when you post about a success that you've had, like, and have you ever done that? Like, you post something and it's like, oh, like, this is cool, so I'll post it. And then it gets like so many likes or whatever. You're like, how did that happen? Like, there's a lot of people out there cheering you on that you don't even really understand. But anyway, that's my
I really like that. That was a great episode.
Oh, thank you.
I like it. I believe in you, Jen.
Thanks. I believe in you too.
Until next time, guys.
Peace. Thanks for listening to this episode of It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. If you like this episode of the podcast, visit our website, iswcpodcast.com, for show notes and other cool things.